You're listening to Money FM 89.3, and it's now time for Under the Radar with me, Chua Tian Tian. Now, whether you're heading out for work or leisure, ride hailing has become one of the most common modes of transportation these days. Now, besides tech giant Grab and Gojek, we want to talk about a newer player on the block that has been gaining prominence in Southeast Asia, and that is TADA. Launched in Singapore in 2018, TADA is the world's first blockchain-based zero-commission ride-hailing application, where its key mobility data such as transactions, movements, and the maintenance of people and vehicles are recorded in a single mass vehicle ledger or MVL ecosystem. The company further expanded into Cambodia in the same year before setting foot in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. But how does the company's blockchain-based application help it differentiate itself against major incumbents in the ride-hailing industry? And more recently, TADA has entered into a strategic partnership with FoodPanda to introduce new user benefits for customers in Asia, starting with Singapore and Cambodia. But what does this partnership mean for TADA as it positions itself for future growth? Now, for more, let's speak to Jonathan Chua, Regional General Manager at TADA Mobility Singapore. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tintin, for having me.
And great to have you on board, Jonathan. So before we get started, John, TADA is the world's first blockchain-based zero-commission ride-hailing application, and your key mobility data are all recorded in, this is a very blockchain jargon here, is a single mass vehicle ledger ecosystem. What does this all mean in layman terms?
That's a great question. So in layman's term, it means that we are building a mobility ecosystem where data belongs to the user. So where any value that is created from users participating in our ecosystem are distributed equitably back to them. So blockchain is an emerging technology, and use cases for mass adoption are still gaining traction. So at MVL, we are still building out the actual business cases within TADA and our sister company, Onion, which leverages on the MVL ecosystem.
And tell us more about TADA's presence in Southeast Asia, Jonathan. I understand that you're fairly focused in Cambodia and Vietnam. Estimated 100,000 drivers, 890,000 users as of April 2021. But what is the status right now? How does Singapore fit in your overall portfolio then?
Sure. So across the region, we have more than 200,000 drivers and more than 1 million users. So we've seen good growth across all the markets we operate in over the last 2 years. So as to your question on Singapore, Singapore is not only our headquarters, it's where we call home. It is also a key market for our ride-hailing service.
And let's talk about industry positioning, Jonathan. How does your solution differ from the ride hailing services provided by major players like, well, when we talk about ride hailing, it's going to be Grab or Gojek? Would you consider your differentiation factor to be your underlying blockchain technology? Or is it the fact that, TADA, as far as I understand, provides more of three-wheelers, tuk-tuks in Southeast Asian markets? Does your industry positioning differ based on the markets you're in?
Sure. So I think let me answer this or how we differ from our competitors on three planes. So this is our secret sauce. I think there's three planes, and first is the service level. We are zero commission, and we remain committed to being so for the foreseeable future. So what this means is that it allows us to price our rides equitably, not cheaply, but equitably. Us as a platform, we take a small portion through our platform fees, which enables us to leave a larger portion to be equitably shared between the riders and the drivers. So what this means is that drivers can have a meaningful uplift in their incomes, and riders can pay lesser. So we are also a marketplace, and it matters that our drivers get jobs and our riders get rides. So all of this must happen at a reasonable waiting time of under 5 minutes. And I'm proud to say that we are able to deliver on that these days. So that's the service level. So on the product and policy level, we built our product that can offer a reliable experience at scale, so you don't encounter any technical issues. And our policies also enable drivers to enjoy TADA without stress. So we give them the freedom to select the jobs they want, where they want to go to, and we are not harsh on our penalties, because we believe that we are here to also serve the drivers. And on a corporate level, which is the third plane, we differentiate ourselves with our cost structures, which essentially means our sustainability from a financial and operational perspective. And within these three planes is how I believe we have differentiated ourselves against our peers in the markets that we operate in.
You talk about being able to offer zero commission and the fact that you can determine the pricing very equitably. How is this done? Does blockchain has a part to play in terms of, what is equitable and what is not?
Sure. I think in terms of the pricing, it is still we still subject to market forces, and ultimately the blockchain allows us to actually broaden our view that one, I think it gives us the confidence that we do not have to subscribe to a commission-based model for ride-hailing business. We can focus on delivering value first, and delivering value to our users, to let them enjoy a ride hailing service as what it's supposed to be.
And John, I do want to focus on one point that you mentioned earlier, which has to do with the waiting time of less than 5 minutes. And, well, quite reassuring for us. But the problem that the major players are facing is this shortage of drivers, which is what's driving that waiting time. And you mentioned about giving drivers the flexibility to choose where they want to go and all of that. How do you achieve a waiting time of less than 5 minutes given that the industry is facing a shortage of drivers and given that you're offering your drivers that kind of flexibility?
Sure. So Tian Tian, that is actually our secret sauce. But if I can let you in on a bit, is that we do see, I think, some changes in preferences of our drivers, where they enjoy the freedom on TADA, and TADA being zero commission and being very easy to access and use. We shorten their time to value, which means that they can come in and get approved after the rigorous checks that we do quite quickly, which means that they can enjoy TADA, and many drivers do like it and do continue to use TADA as their main or secondary platform. And that helps us, I think, credits to all the drivers that use TADA. That helps us to serve our passengers reliably and at high quality, which manifests itself as a shorter waiting time.
Okay, your secret sauce then. Let's take a look at the wider business environment you are in, Jonathan. According to
Sure.
Black Box, the ride hailing market in Southeast Asia, which of course includes online transport and food delivery, that amounted to about 13 billion US dollars in 2021, set to reach 42 billion US dollars by 2025. Do you agree with this assessment?
I think the case for shared mobility is a very strong one. So people consume mobility very differently in the future. I think we see that changing also. We believe that lesser people will own cars, for example, for either cost reasons or personal preferences. That could include being environmentally responsible. So we can also factor in the ease of getting a ride through the ride-hailing apps, and that will also continue to shape consumer preferences. So I'm not absolutely sure about the figure, like 42 billion, but I'm generally optimistic of our industry.
If you're just tuning in, we're now in conversation with Jonathan Chua, Regional General Manager at TADA Mobility Singapore. And Jonathan, what would you say is the number one trend in the ride hailing industry right now, and how does this influence the way in which you take the company forward?
Sure. So on one level is from a product and service perspective. So we take safety and privacy of our users very seriously, and much of my team efforts goes into ensuring that our users can have a peace of mind when using our app. So on a corporate level, we do see that there's a lot of focus on profitability and sustainability. So that also shapes how we build our business in the markets that we currently operate, and that of which we will go to uh, in the future.
And let's take a look at TADA's recent partnership with FoodPanda to offer
Sure.
new user benefits for customers in Asia. You guys are starting with Singapore and Cambodia, and just to give our listeners a taste of it, under this partnership, up to 30,000 TADA users in Singapore can opt in and receive a complimentary Panda Pro subscription. Now, the question is, we're always interested about dollars and cents on Under the Radar,
Sure.
John. So, what is the rationale behind forming this partnership? To what extent has it got to do with customer acquisition and forming that wide base of customers that sort of provide the company the flexibility as to where it wants to grow in the future?
So I think to answer this question, I mean, fundamentally, in the Food Panda team and ourselves, we are very aligned and share the same philosophy where we want to extend conveniences to each other's user base, and we want to do better and more for our users. And underpinning this is that the first is that we recognize that this coming together acknowledges that we as separate companies are laser focused in our respective verticals, where we also acknowledge that it requires dedicated effort and dedicated investments to make the marketplace vibrant and of high quality, so that our both our, I mean, on FoodPanda, the merchants and their users and their riders, for us, our drivers and riders, can enjoy. So when we look at this, is that there's two views, right? One is that we do want to extend what we do best, respectively, to each other's user base. So there's an element of acquisition as well. But I think more importantly is that we believe that uh, instead of like each trying to build a super app and going into verticals that are new and completely different, we leverage on each other to be stronger together. So that is the view that we have of this partnership.
And any goals for the partnership as far as, customer acquisition is concerned here in Singapore?
Well, I mean, we both of our platforms would always constantly want to acquire new users. I think that's part of business. But more importantly, what we aspire to do is to better serve our existing customers as well, and such that the value together, the proposition is very strong, that that they do share with their friends and family, and which leads into I mean, naturally, like the natural path of user acquisition. And I think it's cementing our value proposition both together and both as respectively as like operating in within our respective verticals.
And,
Sure.
well, don't mind me asking this, John.
Sure.
Does TADA envision itself to form more of such partnerships to extend your reach and influence? And, will TADA at one point consider either moving to food and grocery deliveries on your own or to merge with a player like FoodPanda to become a super app like Grab at some point in time?
Sure. Let me answer the partnership question first. I think when we started, we actually worked with a lot of partners, and I'm very thankful for a lot of partners extending their goodwill, their credibility, their support to help us grow to where we are today. And FoodPanda, I mean, has been very generous with their time and and their resources into this partnership. So as to partnership, I think that we stand on the shoulders of giants. We we have the support of a lot of partners, and we are very thankful for that. So partnership is very important to us, and we honor our partners. So as to us moving into food and grocery deliveries, as I previously mentioned, we actually acknowledge that food delivery is a very distinct business with its own model, and is actually very different from a ride-hailing service in how we operate. I think the perception, of course, the technology that matches in the marketplace may seem quite similar, but I think the efforts, the investment under beneath this this business is completely different from ride hailing, and we recognize that. So we are focused, I think, like how we are committed to staying zero commission, right? I firmly believe that we will focus on being doing what we are good at. So as to any mergers, has not been discussed. I think we are focused on doing our job, that one job, really, really well, and we hope to do it even better for our riders and our drivers, and we also hope to do it in new markets to come. So that is our focus right now.
And before we let you go, Jonathan, what are some future plans for TADA this year? What can we expect here in Singapore?
Sure. So in Singapore, we are continuously taking in feedback from our users, improving the performance of our app, as well as adding more features. I think that this is something that you can expect from a ride-hailing service. But generally for TADA, we are also looking to expand into new markets in the next 2 years, and to, I think, with Singapore as a platform, right, to go into new markets and replicating the success, the support, and the trust that we've earned here in Singapore.
Any hints as to uh, where these markets are?
Tian Tian, you will see in
Or
the
is it the
coming
secret
days.
sauce? We will see. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. Thanks a lot, Jonathan. That was
You're
Jonathan
very
Chua,
welcome.
Regional General Manager, TADA Mobility Singapore, and leaving us with this interview and some questions ahead as to where they're expanding to next. Thanks a lot, Jonathan.
Thank you for having me.
Money FM 89.3.